this where I
You could-
scream, "Hey, all you crazy sons of bitches"?
Yes, that's right. Going way back in time. Yes. Well, the robot lady said we're recording. Hang on. I'm going to hit there. The timer's going. Hey, everyone. It's Jack Mangan here. We are with S.L.A.M, or Support Life and Music, the new, as of 2025, new nonprofit to push back and fight back against musician self-destruction, suicide, self-harm, substance abuse disorders, and that kind of everything we can to help musicians to kind of survive the hard life that it is out there. So this episode here is really, really exciting because actually we've got most of our advisory council. I'm told that we legally, because of our structure, we can't call it a board. So, you know, I won't call the police on you if you do, but I mean, it's technically not a board. But so let me start with introductions. This is a really amazing group of people. Like, this is a really fun group of people. We could be better than The View. Like, if we were on TV, we'd have more viewership than The View. I don't know who'd be Whoopi out of this group, but anyway, let me so alphabetically, I'll go alphabetically. So that would be Sheila Dee. Dr. Sheila Dee is someone who I've been a cherished friend of mine for many, many years. I won't say how many, but just really someone who's really just one of the smartest people I know, and someone who really is truly kind of a no nonsense, no BS person who really brings a lot to the table. It's got a great background in education, and I am just thrilled to have her on the board. So Dr. Sheila Dee, we're starting with you. Thanks so much for joining us. I don't know if that was adequate, or if you want to say some more about yourself and things you have going on.
Yeah, I in the smarts category, it's very narrow. I'm education, and if you want to talk about sabbaticals, I'm all about it. I can talk for days. So.
Well, I think we found a new topic then for this episode then. All right. Well, no, thank you so much for joining. And by the way, let me just say to you and to everyone, thank you guys so much for all of this, every last bit of it. All right. So let's see if I embarrass myself by screwing up the alphabet. I think next would be Jack Frost, who is the best guitar player I know, and is one of the most trustworthy and awesome people I know. I'm just absolutely thrilled beyond belief. He's been with, I would list his bands, but literally by the time we finished his music resume, the timer would have been going off for like 20 minutes. He's really played with everyone. He knows everyone, but also just a super great person. By the way, what's funny though about Jack is that his superstar guy that he is, he actually saw me play guitar live before I ended up seeing him play live. So just a funny twist of fate there. But Jack Frost, man, thank you so much for being here and being part of this. And it's great to have you here.
Oh man, I mean, I really appreciate meeting all you people today, and honestly, this is a great thing to be a part of. And like, you know, I have a lot to say later on because I just got back from the Monsters of Rock cruise, and I tell you, I talked to a lot of people about this, and there's a lot of people that can really need this, man, and this is going to be a great, you know, place for people to understand and go to, and it's Jack, you're doing something great here, really are.
Well, thank you, Jack. I appreciate it. I don't. Nobody can make me cry on this. Okay. No glad to make me cry.
There's no crying in S.L.A.M.
No crying in S.L.A.M. Yes. And then another. Okay, so actually, the newest of my cherished friends, but this is a friend who I absolutely cherish. Who she and I worked together actually in the business world. She really. One of the smartest business people I've ever worked with. And what I really admire about her, I've learned a lot from every single one of you guys on this call, but I've learned so much I've also learned a hell of a lot from Sarah. But yeah, one of the things one thing I've said about you a lot behind your back, Sarah, to everyone is to say, you know, she just gets people. Sometimes someone will be going off in a meeting and everyone's kind of looking at each other. And then afterwards she'll say, this is what's going on there. She just intuitively understands people in a way that is almost, you know, it's incredible. So, but she's also a great person and great friend. So Sarah Hyde, thank you so much for being a part of this.
Yes, thanks, Jack. I'm super excited to be here. Because I work in the business world, it's great to do this and to help people. I'm really excited to give back and kind of receive in that kind of vein.
Excellent. Well, yeah, and thanks again, Sarah. All right, so we also have Eric Haley, who is a great part of the board. He's not here today. Haley does come before Hyde in alphabetical order, but he's not here with us. So send him a message. Hopefully, he'll be able to join us tonight. So we'll skip over Eric. We'll skip over me because you guys have, if you've been around S.L.A.M, you're sick of me. But now let me go back again to someone. The last alphabetically is someone who I normally our conversations are full of snark and busting of chops and whatnot. But I'm just going to say, as a friend I really trust with my life, and who's really taught me so much, and I really owe a lot to him because he's the guy who said, "Hey, you ever heard of this podcasting thing?" And he's now literally in the podcast Hall of Fame, and just done so many great things. Someone I really have a lot of respect for and a lot of trust for. And Evo Terra, you're never going to get anything this nice out of me ever again. But here you go.
I know.
Thank you.
It is quite an honor to have you say nice things about me for once. That's fantastic. It's wonderful. Oh, and all snarkiness aside, which you and I are going to continue to snark each other because that's our relationship. It's what we do. But I am also quite excited and happy to be a part of this. I dabbled in the music industry myself in the late 90s, early 2000s. Played bass in a kind of a ska band that was destined to failure at the beginning of it. But I just my little taste of that and recording a few albums and doing things. I also know that there is a lot of stuff that is going through the mind of musicians and also and all sorts of creatives, but specifically in musicians. And as we have all become more aware of our own mental health needs, empathy towards others, I think it's great that we are banding together to do something to help, because it's a shit world out there, generally speaking, and definitely for the musicians as well.
Yeah, no, well said. And it's true. And by the way, you're all cut off now for compliments. No more compliments for any of you. You're all cut off. So I hope you enjoyed them. But yeah, no, I will say really quickly, and then I want to hear from all of you. I mean, and again, people who watch this a lot have heard a lot from me. So I want to hear from all of these brilliant people here before the timer goes off. But I will say that, yeah, there's so much to be done. We're definitely trying to get a lot of education for people. There are still a lot of people who have the mentality of from 1979, where musicians are all just living, in mansions with limousines and cocaine, and it's just a nonstop party. And that's not really, I mean, for some musicians, that was never the reality. But, that a lot of musicians are working day to day. On a recent one of these, a S.L.A.M summit or whatever you were calling it, I had a brilliant Danny Cutler and George Hrobb on, who both out of the podcast world. I had them together on. It was a great meeting of minds. And George said a really great thing about, like, I'm hoping that the stigma of being like a working class musician, where you're not a multimillionaire, I hope we can get this so where people accept that, because it's kind of considered like, oh, well, you're not a multimillionaire, you're a musician, but you're not a multimillionaire, so you're a failure. Is kind of the mindset that is out there in some places. So that's one of the many things S.L.A.M wants to push back, is public perception. We definitely want to help musicians so that they can get through the darkness and the dark times, but we also want to change hearts and minds. So that's, again, I'm going to shut up now. I want to hear from all of you. Maybe I'll start. Jack Frost actually just came back from the Monsters of Rock cruise, and you kind of led off with that. So that's a great teaser. Jack, maybe you have some stories or any things you wanted to tell, any observations?
Well, it's funny you talk about, like, everyone thinks that, we live in mansions and Ferraris. Listen, man, you know what? Yeah, we're very rich musicians by one reason, because we get to do what we love for a living. I mean, that's the first thing before anybody says anything. Like, you get to go on stage every night. But I met a lot of people on the cruise, people I knew, people I didn't know. And listen, I'm going to be as front up about myself. Listen, man, there was a time in my life, like everybody else, we were young and we were all full of piss and vinegar, and we thought, the world was ours and we were unstoppable. And yeah, dude, listen, I partied like everybody else at one time. But the one thing about me, I never let it get to me. I didn't rule my life. Like, and I have a lot of friends, unfortunately, that I watched that their lives crumbled because, the inner demons, they couldn't get away from it. A perfect example. Now, the cruise, there's a bunch of guys, I'm not going to mention names right now, but some of these guys are 15, 20 years sober. And that's awesome, man. Like, and talking to a lot of these people and a lot of my friends, and like I said, I met a lot of new people. It just shows you, like, how music and the art has changed over the years. If you go like at a show now, go backstage, there's no more booze. There's no beer. It's juices. It's water. It's our whole backstage is like healthy foods now, and we're all at a different point of our lives now where we're trying to take care of ourselves. And the whole thing being a rock star, it means you're doing blow and you have girls. It's not like that anymore. It's a family now. It's really changed a lot, man. And you see it because we all help each other out. And when you see somebody that says, I'm 10 years sober, that's amazing. Like, that's amazing because, listen, dude, you're still in that scene where there are some guys, and I have friends and people I played with that just never, I don't want to say the word grown up, but they just can't get rid of that monkey on their back. And it's really sad. And this is why I think this is going to help people to hear it from a different perspective, like guys and girls that have done it, people that are into indie art that understand it. Like, this is really important. Like, people don't get enough of that. Like, don't point fingers and say, help them. That's what I think we're all here to do, is help each other and see how different there's people need help, man. Need help.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well said. I don't know. I mean, I'll throw it out to the larger group. Like I said, people don't want to hear from me all the time. Like, from the other group, what have you guys observed, or would you hope we can accomplish with S.L.A.M? What S.L.A.M can do to kind of change some of the stuff that Jack are talking about?
I'll pipe in. So I think in general, not just musicians, but creatives in general, often the way that they're creative comes from those demons that are inside. And so being able to find outlets for that isn't, the drinking and the drugs and whatever else, all that self-destructive, I think that's key to helping them still be creative, but not be dependent on things and not succumb to some of those demons. So that's what I'm hoping to help with.
Yeah, no, I love it, and I will say, I think that is great. I think it is true. So much of art does come from pain, and in a lot of cases, yeah, it is a way. It's a coping mechanism for a lot of us. We're creating as ways of coping with some kind of past or present pain that we've had in our lives. So you're right, but that's a healthy way. Art is a healthy way, as opposed to some of the other ways that we can chase. And yeah, that's another thing I want to erase. There's a mentality out there that I'll just say people say like Jimi Hendrix wouldn't have been great without the drugs, or I can't listen. Pink Floyd sucks without the drugs. Like, well, I really want that mentality to go away. That's not fair, and I don't find it accurate.
That's such a not a true fact,
Right.
Yeah, it's very true. One of the things I'm most curious, well, something I'm very curious about as we get through with this is obviously we have dependencies and past traumas and stuff like that. But it's 2025, and the drug that I know a lot of creators are on right now is called sertraline. It's these mood enhancing. It's SSRIs and things to realize, hey, we've got depression, anxiety, ADHD, all of these things that when we were kids was solved by a quick slap on the head, and now we know that, hey, 50 milligrams of sertraline once a day makes at least one person on this call a happier person. And well, two people on this call, because it makes Sheila Dee a happier person as well when I'm not totally crazy and stuff, right? And that there's the stigma of, oh, you got to go see a shrink. You got to go. You're suddenly on these over medicated like we have our kids and whatnot, and that's also bullshit, right? I mean, it's about being healthy, and if you do in fact need chemical support, if that's what you need, it's a healthy chemical support, prescribed by someone who's looking
Right.
out for your best instance, right? And going to therapy was something that was, you were a total loser 20 years ago, if you were in therapy, man, what's screwed up in your life? It's like, no, man, therapy's really good. It is very, very helpful to have someone to talk to sometimes. You know, you can't get anywhere else. So breaking down those stigmas as well, like, especially as you're creative, especially as a working creative, a working musician who's struggling, probably has a day job and has music job on the other side of this. It's not everything that they do. That's hard, man. It is really, really, really hard. And I think it's okay for people to seek out support, people who can support them just through friends and family, but also professionals who can say, I can make your life better with a proper regimen. That's great.
What's wild for me is I'm not a musician. I'm not coming from this space, and I use music to heal from all of that. And so it's kind of just interesting to think about it, that that's the business, right? So musicians need a way to get support and escape because music is their business. So I'm definitely interested in providing content to help them.
Yeah, no, and that is actually an excellent point. That is another stigma, and it's still something, you know, it's still kind of a punchline. Like, oh, you need therapy. Like if somebody says something, you know, and it is something that it's kind of dated, it's kind of tired, you know. It's time for your medication, Mr. Brown. Like that's kind of got to. I'd agree that stigma needs to be taken away. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to be the funny police. Like if someone's got, you know, wants to make a funny remark, but yeah, I'm totally on board with that. I mean, and sorry, yeah, you just made a really good point too. Is that like a lot of these people are coming from this place. I don't know any musician who really doesn't have this kind of story, or even any band. I mean, I think Frost and I were talking about this offline. Is that just about every band has got some kind of tragic backstory. It'd be really hard pressed to find a band and say like, you know, and sometimes it's not due to their own demons. Like, you know, you'd say like, just out of my hat, the Beastie Boys, you know, have their tragedy, but I don't, as far as we know, that would, you know, the death in the band was caused by just life and disease. But you know, every band does, every artist, everyone's got some kind of tragic backstory. So I think, yeah, probably culturally, even outside of music, we need to find better ways of talking about this stuff. And I'm rambling, so I'm going to shut up and someone take the mic for me, please.
I'm gonna jump in and with where you were going with that ADHD, Jack Mangan, and you know, we know everybody knows the big stories, right? We know Chris Cornell is an example, right? Who, you know, terrible, terrible losses, right? I mean, you can name any, you can name so many. And I'm sure, you know, Frost and Mangan, you guys probably could name too many people that you actually know that have gone through this. But outside of the music community, the working musician community, I don't know that a lot of people know that those same, I shouldn't say same, but similar stresses, because I think that one apply to the gigging musician. The band that, you know, ekes enough money by to pay themselves at least they're living on ramen days, or maybe they have a pretty good, you know, they can pay for their house and their mortgage and all that kind of stuff. But those bands also probably, or those musicians, probably many of them have tragic stories. And what about those who we've lost along the way that we don't know about because they're not famous? I think, you know, having a greater understanding that these pressures, look, you don't have to be Kurt Cobain to have these issues, right? You can have these same issues as just a regular person who happens to have a career in music. And yeah, those pressures, clearly they're different when you get to a certain level of fame, but man, they're still there. And you need to fight those. And we need to have ways to encourage musicians to get past those, understand they're out there, but here's how you can overcome some of those things.
And I think talking more freely about them, not repressing them and
Yeah.
keeping them inside, really talking about them. I think those that have, you know, seen success, I think it's even more important for them to talk about that and normalize it. You know, so that, you know, others that are coming up in the ranks, going through, can see that it's unfortunately a normal part of things, but there's light at the end of the tunnel, you know. So
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna jump in real fast. You know, you both made amazing words, because think about what you're saying. The guys that haven't made it, they're, you know, just local guys that are struggling to make it. And then you got think about the guys that have got to stardom, have got, you know, played arenas and did this all, and then it all ended. Like, that's a lot for somebody, and not just musicians, actors that had, you know, they were childhood actors, and look how they would happen, and they're all scared to like talk to somebody. You shouldn't be embarrassed if you have. I think the world has changed a lot, where it's a lot more open now. People want to hear your story, they want to know, but you guys said it the best, because it's like, there's these guys you're never going to know that put so much pressure. Like, what happens if I don't make it? I got to make it. They set these boundaries. Like, if they don't make it, there's nothing left for them. And that's really hard. I mean, imagine going to bed at night with like that.
That's a great point. One of the things that I taught students, I used to teach English and also computers. And
Oh, cool.
I would teach my kids, you know, we have this concept that success is a straight upward arrow, and it
Right.
is so not. It is this circle loops, and you know, all these things in between. All those little points are what get us to the top. It's
Right.
it's rarely a straight shot, but all those little, and I'm not gonna, I mean, for lack of a better term, mistakes or shifts are what get you there. And realizing that is huge, because that takes off so much pressure from people to, well, if I didn't make it the first time, I'm done. And that it's just not reality.
That's hard to swallow too.
Mm-hmm. As a perfectionist, I know this.
Yeah, me too. I'm like, I mean, I know that's just hard to swallow.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, every success story. I mean, Guns N' Roses were considered an overnight success, but they were like living their cars for years. I mean, you know, every success takes a lot of sacrifice and suffering and getting through that stuff, right? And actually, what I wanted to turn that to is, you know, there's a lot of people with the attitude. I've heard this talking about support life and music. I've heard people say, like, I'd love to have their problems, or, you know, it's going to be hard to get people to feel sorry for, you know, someone who's made a bunch of $1 million and it all went up their nose. You know, I don't really feel sorry for that guy. I hear a lot of that out there. So
I've been that guy. I've said those things, and because I was young and dumb, and with you know, a few more decades under your belt, you go, oh, you know what? It kind of sucks out there for just about everyone, and you don't know what other people are dealing with. You just simply do not. So yeah, no such thing as an overnight success.
Everybody's dealing with shit. It's just different shit.
Yeah.
So
that's our new logo, by the way, for S.L.A.M.
I love it.
Oh no! Here I got a slogan. I got a slogan. We'll slam the shit out of you.
That's good.
I'm workshopping it. We're workshopping it. Yeah.
So the A will be like a poop thing. That'd be great.
Perfect.
No, I like it. All right, so we got 6.5 minutes. So before the great timer shuts us all up. So I mean, I don't want to put anyone else on the spot, but Sarah, I mean, I think you had a point earlier about this. I don't know if you had anything more you wanted to say on this. Not sorry to single you out, Sarah, but I think you had an unfinished thought you were kind of getting to.
Oh no, I was just kind of observing the room, and just sort of realizing how much I use music for my own mental health.
Yeah.
And it's just sort of it's wild to me that, you know, if that's your work, it's not necessarily as therapeutic, right?
Right. Sarah, when you said that earlier, you know, I didn't even think about that before this, but yeah, I mean, because again, I had my little brush with music and that was great, but it's certainly not my life. But for the people who it is their life, they wind down with something. They have to wind down with something different, right? I mean, yeah, you listen
Right.
to a lot of music. Like I listen to a lot of podcasts, obviously, since that's what I do for a living. But I don't do it as an escape any longer.
Mhm.
It's stopped being
Right.
a, I don't want to say that's not a choice, right? I mean, I still enjoy listening to various things, but yeah, I can't wind down with that. Like you,
Mhm.
I turn to music for a lot of that, all right? Or I turn
Yeah.
to books. And so helping musicians understand that look, the thing you do is your job. You need to do that, but you also need to find other outlets is probably a key thing. I don't know, Jack Frost, what out of curiosity, to Sarah's point, what do you do when you need to just kind of go away from the world? Do you still slap on the headphones and listen to, I don't know, country music or
You,
something? What are you, no,
you
like,
know, you
smooth
know
jazz?
what, man? Music to me is just the most important thing. Worst day, best day, it can always soothe me. Like there's just some. It doesn't. It could be anything from rock to country to. I love '70s disco. Like I just yeah. I mean, I think it. I just think music when if I'm having a really bad day, I've always realized just going downstairs in my basement and picking up my guitar and just noodling. It's just therapy. It's therapy to me, and it's like if it's and I'm a crazy gym freak. Like I love to work out, but I can't work out if I don't have music. Like that, people are like, I don't know how you do that every day. I'm like, you know what? That's my relief, and I feel that music. It really, really it just brings you down. It just calms you, and then it also it makes you up too at the same time. So you know if it's not I just feel music is, she said it the best, man. It the worst day, for some reason you can put on your favorite song and listen to it over and over again. It does something to you. For me, 100%.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, like everybody, think they listen to Rage Against the Machine before they go to bed, right? Because what else is more calming?
That'll make me sleep.
But I mean, and we didn't even touch on that. We're not going to have time for that. But yeah, I mean, all the different emotions in music. I mean, there are songs that are so heartbreaking they can make you cry, but also can apps be exactly what you needed. Like "Wish You Were Here" by Pink Floyd or something. Or I say when my beloved Gandalf the cat, when he died, like listening to Draconian. It's a doom metal album. It's really dreary and depressing. It was perfect. So yeah, it's like so I mean, I know it's yes, it's funny that like certain music works in certain modes, but even like dark and depressing, like you don't have to put on "Walk It on Sunshine" to feel better. You can put on like something really gloomy, and that will also get you there. And it's not really something about the music. It's really whatever works for you, I think.
Yeah.
But I mean, for a song that's part of your day job, Jack Frost, is what can you listen to? "Life Is Just a Fantasy" just to kind of like to chill out, or when you listen to it, you go like, oh yeah, that's that part I keep missing. I'm always half step off there. Can you kind of be professional about it, or how does that work?
Aldo Nova reference you just made?
Yeah.
This
Did that?
out
Wow.
there. He's gonna
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah, Frost he's lead guitar for Aldo Nova right now.
Yeah,
So.
for the last 4 years, I'm his
Kick
guitar player. So,
ass.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
very cool. And you talk about therapy too. Aldo's 68 years old. Talk about stories that he could tell me. Like, I look at him and I say, God bless him, because he says to me, dude, he partied like the best, and he is healthy, takes care of himself now, and he's just a lovely gentleman to be around every time. We have the best time together. But Jack, you said it. I'll listen to songs and I still beat myself up sometimes too. Like, oh, I got to get that better. I'm not feeling that yet. So, I listen to music, but it's my work sometimes. And sometimes you got to step away too, because you're like, I got to do that better. I got to do that better. And it's that can be stressful. But once you get it, you're like, oh, that's good. And because you're a musician too, so you get it, you played. So you know how it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, right. It is. That really resonated when you said that. There are so many nights, over rough times where I get home from work and the guitar is the first thing. Like that's the first thing I'm picking up because just that's the decompression method. So I mean, it's everybody has their own different ways. But
Yeah.
as Evo said earlier, you need the healthy ways. And And if someone prescribes it to you, that is a good thing. That is not something to be mocked about or to throw some shade at somebody about. All right, you got 30 seconds. So somebody say something really, really smart.
Our job is to provide content for people to listen to who can't listen to music for therapy.
I like it.
Sarah wins the call.
Awesome.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, so yeah, since I'm looking, yeah, we got the things about to go off. Thank you very much, Jack Frost, Sarah Hyde, Evo Terra, Dr. Sheila Dee. Eric Haley actually had a thing with his daughter, so that's why he couldn't make it. He texted me as we're going. There it goes. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. This has been a great discussion. I look forward to working with you guys and making the world better. Thank you so much.
Woot. Cheers all.